Welcome everybody to the It's Never Too Late show. I'm Suzanne Oshima and I help you transform midlife into your best life and find love again in your next chapter. Today we have a very special guest, Gayle Maree, and she's a spiritual counselor and author. And today we're talking about how you need to take the pick me sign off your back to find love again. So welcome, Gayle. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thanks, Suzanne, from over the other side of the world.
I know, you live in Australia, which is on my bucket list, and after this all lifts, I plan to go there, and so we can meet in person. So before we jump into, how some women can have that pick-me sign on their back, I would love for you to share with the ladies how you became a spiritual counselor and what made you write that book, 6 Dimensions of Healing.
Well, actually, it was a very long time ago. I've been a spiritual counselor for about 22 years. And all that time ago, my now husband, who was my boyfriend then, was going through a terrible divorce. And I felt so inadequate because I didn't have the tools to do anything. I couldn't help him at all. And so I became a counselor through that. And what the spiritual part is, the spiritual counselor, is that I was also doing a course in miracles at the time, studying that when I did counseling as well. And so that aligned personal responsibility with the tools of counseling. And so I've already had that, always had that leaning on inner and soul connection.
Interesting. So how did you discover that sometimes single women in midlife can walk around, quote unquote, with that sign on their back of pick me?
It was actually my clients who told me that. Because I've been counseling for so long, I have clients that say, look, I'm walking around and I get the same people all the time. I keep attracting these same guys and I think I've changed what I want to do, and yet I still get those no-hopers. It's as if I have a sign on my back. And I said, well, actually, you do.
So in what ways does that sign, because obviously it's not a physical sign, but in what ways does that pick me sign show up?
Well, the pick me sign is I often describe it as the music that goes on inside of you. So sometimes we have music, and I have a few songs here. It's like, if you had, for instance, you were feeling like this and you had some nice jazz going on, well, then that sign inside of you would actually be a sign that you want the world to see. It would be something that you feel good about. And yet, if you actually have another one that's going on like, say, this.
Right.
It's probably a sign that you don't want to show the world. Maybe you're feeling angry inside. And so that sign then is going to pop up that says, hey, pick me, I'm angry. And
well,
so
is that really a pick me sign? Or if that, that horrible sound that you just played, or is that more of a repelling sign?
Well, people often are repelling when they don't think they're repelling. I've done many seminars on how people think they're attracting people when they're actually repelling. So we all have signs, and we have signs that indicate all different things. So we have signs that say, I'm struggling, for instance. And we have signs that say, I'm afraid. And we have signs that say, I'm confident. So we do give the world, all different signs. And those signs are like neon lights. They're so loud to the people who hear them that they're actually like the neon signs in Las Vegas. They're not like your little street signs. These are loud and they vibrate and they flash.
So are you saying then that we're emitting like an energy, and the men are picking up on that energy, whether it's pick me or it's a repelling energy or it's a desperate energy, and their intuition is picking up on it?
It's not even intuition. We were born vibrational beings in that. I know that
Mm.
sounds a little bit woo-woo, but let me bring it down to earth a little bit. In that, when you first go to a party, anybody goes to a party, you'll walk into the room and then you'll look at somebody or you'll meet somebody for the first time and instantly you'll think, oh, I like that person. I just knew I liked you from the first time I met you. It doesn't matter whether it's a male or a female, it's just I knew I liked you. And the same thing can also happen about that other person across the room there. It's like, I really don't want to go near that person. There's something about them that I just don't like. Well, we call that gut instinct, but it's actually vibration. And we were born with that and we use that all the time. And that's what we use to connect and communicate with other people. So they're our signs that we send out there.
Interesting, interesting. So, but do you think that women pick up more like on a man's vibration, than a man picks up on a woman's vibration, or it doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters because women tend to be more conscious of what they're picking up, but men will still pick up on the vibration. We all do. We all pick up on vibrations without even realizing it. It's just how we interact or connect with people. If we weren't on a similar vibration, we couldn't communicate. And so there are some people that walk past you that you don't even see. And yet other people will say, oh, you know, I don't like that person. And you'll say, what person? I didn't even notice them. And that's because they're emitting different signals. So some people are picking up that vibration and other people aren't.
That's, it's so interesting that you say that because I pick up on people's energy a lot. And when I lived in New York and I would get on the subway, I could feel people's energy and I would go, oh, that person has a bad vibe. And I would actually move to the other side of the train because I was like, I knew I didn't want to be by them. So this is really interesting. So when a woman has that pick-me energy, how can she shift it so that she doesn't emit that vibration out to men in the world, quite honestly?
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? And that is that is the love formula, really. It's the love formula which we have, which is listen, so L. So I think I wrote that down somewhere. So listen, so L, listen. Okay, so they can listen. O for open your mind. So open your mind to new types of relationships rather than what you've known previously. V for vibrate differently, which means that you can change your mood and change how you feel as well. Therefore, you vibrate differently and expect great things to come. So that's the E. So LOVE, which is listen, open your mind, vibrate, and expect great things. I tried to make it easy for your listeners to remember, Suzanne, because if it's the LOVE, the love formula, then they can just listen to what's going on within.
So that's really interesting. I really like how you use that acronym. So here's a good question for you. So if a woman, she's having a bad day at work, but she has a date later that night and she's just like, I'm in such a bad mood, but I have a date tonight. How can she shift out of that? Because that means that vibration is going to come into the date. And as much as she's going to try and cover it up and show up like, her best self, he's going to pick up on it, right?
Absolutely. So you take yourself with you. You can't leave yourself behind. And you want to take your best self forward. So in that scenario, what you're saying, as long as the issue or why she's not feeling in a bad mood or insecure because of that date, then she can take 10 minutes. 10 minutes is all she needs to just sit, meditate, focus within, focus on her breathing, get her thoughts back on in the right space, just relax within and just allow anything that's coming up to come up. And in 10 minutes time, she can just look for things that then she can appreciate. She can begin to look at things in a different perspective, because when you're in a bad mood or you're not feeling great, you tend to look at things and say, this isn't working, or this hasn't happened properly, or this person is annoying me. And so that needs to stop. So that's where we meditate or focus within, focus on your breathing, and then she gets the opportunity to begin again, basically, which is a bit like going to sleep and waking up in the morning. You get to begin again. And I wouldn't even go on a date until I'd got myself in the right space first.
Yeah, that's so important, because sometimes I think that we think, oh, he's not going to notice. He will. He'll pick up on that, right?
Absolutely. Yes, 100%. Even if he doesn't know what it is, even if he sort of thinks, oh, I didn't like her very much. And it's like, he doesn't know why he didn't like her very much, but it could have just been that she just wasn't feeling great, you know?
Right.
And so therefore they weren't a match.
Exactly.
So you want to be your best so that you can have a match with your best, not have a match with your worst.
Now, here's a good question for you. So, you know, a strong, independent woman who's very powerful in her job, and, you know, because I think we all know, men and women, we both carry masculine and feminine energy. And when women are strong, independent women at their high-powered jobs, that's more masculine energy, right? And so that by vibration too, if she takes that vibration from the office into the date, can he also, that may not be pick-me energy, but that may be, I guess, more masculine energy that could be repelling, because it's almost like two plus magnets like repelling each other?
I guess she has to ask herself the question, because there's a time when you're going from one place to another place. So whether you're going from work to the date, if you're going straight away, or if you're going home first, there's time in between. So that's the time where you need to say, okay, so what part of me do I want to present? Who do I want to be? Which part of me am I wanting to put forward? Am I wanting to put my best foot forward, or am I okay to show him who I am, warts and all? And that may not be so great for a first date. Mm-hmm. It may not have the consequences you want. So, of course, you're on your best behaviour on your first date. So there's a time where you need to change how you're feeling so that you can move forward in that date. So it is a conscious change.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women don't really think that it's that big of a deal to make those conscious shifts, right?
No. I think they are used to it, really, especially those who are mothers or have been mothers, because there's always a time where you need to go from one subject to another that's completely different, and you'll need to shift.
Yeah, that's so true. And speaking of shifting, so, you know, it's so funny how you talk about the pick-me sign, because how I coach my clients is, you know, to shift out of that too and become the chooser, right? And so that, you know, if you truly have the self-confidence, you know your self-worth, and you have high self-esteem, you automatically start to shift into being the chooser instead of, oh, pick me, right? Is you kind of lean back and kind of see how a man shows up either in dating or, you know, as you go along in the process. And so what are some of your best tips that you can give women to shift into more of the becoming the chooser?
Well, I think the number one thing, Suzanne, is an awareness. They need to be aware of how they're feeling at any given time. And that's a pretty big thing, because if they can be aware of what their mood is at any time, then they have control over it and they can choose to change it. So that's huge, is an awareness. The next thing is to choose what they prefer. So would they prefer to go into a date or with somebody, or even into any situation feeling a particular way? Is it do they want to feel like you know, they're in a work situation where they need to be confident, and if they're not normally, how do they want to be? Because not everybody's a strong, confident woman, even though we'd like to be. And some people who are strong and confident in one area aren't in others. And dating, I've found, is certainly one of those, because when you've been hurt before, when you've been damaged before, when you have the past going on, it's really difficult to get off that hamster wheel sometimes. So confident women aren't always confident in the dating scene, but they can take that confidence with them and say, okay, this is what I want. So awareness of what they don't want, first of all, and then they make a choice of what they do want. This is what I want. And they keep it really simple. This is what I don't want. This is how I'm feeling now. What do I want? Okay, that's the direction I move in. I move in the direction of what I want all the time.
So this is interesting. So are you saying, because I always tell people to focus on what you want, not what you don't want, because if you focus on what you don't want, you're going to attract what you don't want. Do you believe that to be true too?
Yeah. Absolutely. But first, at the acknowledgement or the awareness to know where you are on that scale. We have a mood map. So where you are on the mood map, you need to know where you are first, and then you can decide where you want to be. So yeah, focus on what you do want, but know where you are first in relation to what you do want. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going. You can't get to Los Angeles if you don't even know where you're starting from.
Yes, that is so true. And so I'm going to guess that you probably recommend that someone get clear on where they want to go before they start dating. Otherwise, then what I always say is, then if you meet someone and you're not clear if there's chemistry and attraction, that can be great, but he could have all the wrong qualities that you didn't even realize that you don't want in a person, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it comes back to that pick me sign on your back. When you're not aware of what that is, then it becomes difficult to change it. So knowing what you want, or where you're going, as you called it, is like, okay, where you're going mood-wise. So where am I going? I want to feel great. I want to feel great in a relationship. I want to feel empowered in a relationship. I want to feel supported. That is where you're going, and therefore that becomes your roadmap.
Yeah, that's so amazing. So, Gayle, how can the ladies find you?
Well, I have a giveaway for them, which is the 5 biggest mistakes I see people make. So it's how to avoid these 5 huge mistakes, which are endemic, that I see people make over and over again. And they can go to soulmatespecial.com and they can pick that up for free.
Awesome. So ladies, go get that from Gayle's site. So thanks everybody for joining us on the It's Never Too Late show. My show is available in both video and podcast format, which can be found at yournextamazingstory.com. And if you would like to get my free video series, The Secrets About Men After 40 and Beyond, you can click right here on the video, or you can go to yournextamazingstory.com.